Good morning. Good morning. Happy Tuesday. It's October 8th. JTW here with another FOMO live stream from your team at Xtrades. Hope everybody's doing well this morning. It's been an interesting weekend. And before we jump into anything market related, certainly want to send our prayers and best wishes to everyone who is affected by Helene. That's obviously a very nasty situation. Lots of disinformation out there circulating around. So just make sure that you all are doing your homework, looking for the facts before you fall into any of these clickbait traps, I guess, for lack of a better way of saying it. But obviously, if you have the ability to do anything to directly provide support to the folks down there affected by Helene, I highly recommend you take some time or put in some money or whatever you can do to try to help those folks out, because it's a tough situation and we have another pretty nasty storm on the way down for the southeast of the United States. So again, keeping everybody in our thoughts and prayers here at Xtrades and the FOMO live stream. So with that, let's dig into some market talk. What are we looking at here on S&P futures? We're kind of in a little bit of a consolidation holding pattern. Not a little bit of a pretty clear one. Seems to be like seems like we are currently stuck between this demand zone below, which is a pretty healthy sized, strong demand zone. We've seen lots of reactivity when the price action gets down and starts testing that prices those dips are getting bought pretty quickly and strongly. That being said, from a Neptune perspective, we do have some selling pressure, and this key selling pressure here between 57.92 and 58.11 seems to continue to be a bit of a struggle for ES to try to break through to the upside. And then we also have a supply zone just overhead there. So we're certainly in a little bit of a play the range pattern, I would say. Buy the dips as we get down into this demand zone, and I'd say especially in this 57.40 to 57.24. You can maybe even give it a little bit more room down to 57.17. That range right in there is certainly where I would be looking to buy the dips at the top through the bottom of that range. And then obviously booking profits or selling, taking puts, and proactively expecting potential rejections and downside anywhere between 5,800 and the top of this supply zone overhead at 58.30. So keep those areas on watch as the market tries to figure out which way it wants to go. We may see some continued consolidation, especially with election day being less than a month away. At this point, it's going to be I think challenging for the market to make any really big sustained moves in any particular direction as far as ETFs in the market as a whole goes. So another kind of piece of advice or takeaway that I would suggest you walk away with from here would be focus on individual tickers and things that are showing relative strength to the market, moving up while the market's moving sideways, or moving down while the market's moving sideways. I guess relative weakness is also another play if you're somebody who prefers to play for downside puts, shorting shares, whatever that might mean. So anyway, market again seems to be in strong consolidation mode. So like I said, play the range. We're not I'm not seeing anything that looks really convincing as far as a indicator of near-term direction for when we do break out of this range, whether that be to the upside or the downside. All right, with that, let's get to some trade plan reviews, and then we'll get to some new trade plans that we'll do here live on the FOMO live stream. So for those of you watching on YouTube, and what's up, Unknown Reviews, good to see you. Good morning. Please feel free to chime in, say what's up. Also share your ticker requests. I'm happy to take a look at those. And ticker AZZ. I don't know that one. Sounds like it would be pronounced as. But yeah, we can take a look at AZZ for you, Unknown Reviews. And if you're in the Discord, of course, feel free to drop your ticker requests in the chat area of the morning live stream channel. What's up, Rock? Good morning to you. Happy you're here. Thanks for joining us. All right, so let's dig into our trade plan reviews, and then we'll get to some new trade plans here this morning. So first and foremost, we've got NVIDIA. This was from our member selected trade plans that I did over the weekend. Votes came in pretty strong for people wanting another NVIDIA plan after last week's plan. And here we see yesterday getting signs of a confirmed break really within that first 15 minutes, ran right up to PT1 and rejected, came back down for a back test of this support area between 126.05, which is our call entry, and 124.87, which is our stop loss average down for the call side of the trade plan. Neptune fully bullish at that point, the trend ribbon picking up that dip right in there and pushing things to the upside, ultimately hitting all three of our upside price targets and then some. Actually went for this next level higher near 130.71. Came back tested PT1 as support, and here we see it running back up through the price targets again, testing PT3 again, and getting near that prior day's resistance. But so far, lower high, so NVIDIA could be losing some of its steam. Be mindful of that. And of course, if you are already in this and didn't book profits yesterday, I highly recommend booking those near open this morning. And if you want to, hold a couple runners. But so far, this plan has played out beautifully. All upside targets hit. No real challenges of the stop loss average down once we started to see some signs of 126.05 flipping from resistance to support. So congrats if you followed this one. It was an easy payout on NVIDIA yesterday. AMD kind of consolidated, tried to give us some breaks to the upside. Sorry, a little bit of a starting to look like a confirmed break here. My concern yesterday as I was watching this was, we were right up against the selling pressure from a Neptune standpoint. So for me, this was still a no trade, even though if you're just looking at the levels by themselves, that is starting to look like a confirmed break. However, we did pull back. We did get a nice test and good signs of support there at the stop loss average down. So if you did get pulled in there, if you don't have something like Neptune kind of helping guide you and see some things behind the scenes, this was a great opportunity to correct this entry up here. And now we see it trying to break and hold above 171.84, also flipping Neptune just barely, but flipping it a little bit here this morning. So I'd be looking for a hold of 171.84, and even more importantly, a break over this 172.70 level. That should definitely bring us PT1 after that, but kind of surprised, and maybe I shot a little bit too aggressive on the call entry. Maybe I should have had it a little closer to 172.70 just based on some of what I'm seeing currently, but hindsight's always 20/20. And I think, ultimately this plan still has a good opportunity to play out. Levels look like they're holding well. Just a little bit of a stall out at this weak resistance here at 172.70, that, or at least what I thought would be weak resistance, keeping us from getting to that first price target to the upside. So AMD could be one to keep on watch as we go into the open here this morning, especially if it's holding over that 171.84, and especially if we see a break over 172.70. Certainly looks interesting to me for a potential call entry and plan for some upside here. Yeah, we can take a look at PLTR rock. And then, kind of one thought or way that you might adjust this trade plan based on what I've seen over the last 24 hours versus what I was looking at when I did the plan Sunday. You could kind of adjust this and have your entry at 172.70. If you did that, I would move the stop loss average down up to 171.10 and then leave your price targets in place from there. Which those were posted in the options watch list Sunday evening in the Xtrades Discord community. So again, 1, 2, 3, 174, 50, 176.98, and 180.61 would be your upside targets if you decide to play that adjusted plan on a break over 172.70 with a stop loss average down at 171.10. So AMD looking good. Get ready for some upside on it. And then last but not least, from the member selected trade plans, Tesla, I did mention yesterday as we saw this breaking down and back testing and finding resistance at that key support. Neptune had flipped fully bearish. Finally, the selling pressure here on the trend ribbon started to catch up with the price action, but I was mentioning in the chat yesterday, Tesla looks like a good short, looks like it wants more downside, and sure enough, that played out. We did get down to PT1, which was a gap fill. We had a small gap here from Thursday going into Friday's open, gap up that filled back down to the back down to the downside. Gosh, I don't know why that was so hard for me to get my words out, but 241.17 was that gap fill. We did push a little bit lower, but again, when there's a gap fill there, I tend to expect that to be pretty clean support in this particular case. It did dip a little bit lower, but overall PT1 was achieved. So hopefully you took profits, moved your stops up. I would be very careful that gap fill could result in a much a more sustained and extended push to the upside after filling that gap. So keep that on watch, and certainly Tesla looks like it could continue to recover if it can break back over 245.77. That would give us a first price target probably up here where this 333 is currently stacked up with that 248.25's stop loss average down from the upside trade plan. But overall, we are really kind of 2 for 2. AMD hasn't fully played out one way or the other, but we got targets on Tesla to the downside, we got targets on Nvidia to the upside, and AMD is kind of still in wait and see mode. So I would say 2 for 2 with the third trade plan from Sunday kind of still in TBD mode. Then last Thursday we did some trade plans live on the FOMO live stream last Thursday, which we're getting ready to shift gears into in just a moment here. Lunar was one of those trade plans. We talked with my homie Chris. We were really looking for a buy the dip opportunity off this 721 level. I think Chris went ahead and loaded shares. I went with the opportunity to sell puts. And here's a really great, and I looked at this morning and I was like, you know what, I need to use this as an opportunity to mention kind of some of the advantages of selling contracts versus buying contracts. So we're looking for essentially a dip buy off of 721. Ultimately, that played out with a little bit of a dip further below, but ultimately pushing back to the upside and still holding that 721 as support. So if you bought calls right off this buy the dip opportunity and weren't booking profits, especially at this test of the call entry, that key resistance there at 774 that we rejected, we got a little bit of a pre-market push higher, but ultimately actionable trading hours, that was kind of our high so far. And again, a key resistance there at 774, with that being the call entry. So nice move, 50-cent move, which is almost close to, well, I'm not going to fully math that, and it's not close enough to 10% to call it 10%, but it's a decent move from a share price standpoint, from 721 up to 774. So certainly a good chance to take profit. But going back to my point of, buying calls versus selling puts, which is what I decided to do. As long as, if you were swinging these calls longer term and you're making this move back down to essentially kind of where you entered back here, even though you're at the same spot, if you're buying contracts, your contracts are actually going to be down because of theta burn, right? However, if you are selling contracts and you sell around this price point and the price action moves for a few days and then ultimately circles back to where you originally sold those contracts, you will actually be up on your contracts some, because that theta burn is actually paying you versus hurting your contracts. So just something to kind of be mindful of when it comes to seeing like good buy the dip opportunities or good short opportunities at resistances. Those could be opportunities to sell cash secured puts or sell covered calls if you've got a share position in place for that. That can be obviously lower risk, lower reward, but again, it is much, much lower risk, even though you could, technically make some quicker money buying options contracts. Again, there is that risk there, and you've got to work against the clock versus having the clock work with you. So just a quick thought there that I wanted to mention, using Lunar as kind of our context for having that little quick discussion there. Next, we had Occidental Petroleum. This one was again done last Thursday. We saw the breakout to the upside, hold of that call entry level as support, gave us a open above, quick dip down, and then gave us a confirmed break and back test here on the 15-minute on this candle right there, taking us all the way up to PT1 and then some up to that 56.50 level. Ultimately has rejected since then. So hopefully you booked profits, moved your stops up once you got to this 56.25 first price target. Interesting gap to the downside and push lower here this morning on Oxy. So clearly some challenging probably news out there that I haven't read yet. with regards to oil. But Occidental Petroleum overall played out to the upside, got us a price target. So we should have locked profits there if you were in. And again, moved those stops up. Could be an interesting buy the dip opportunity here on this back test of 54.90 that we're starting to see, but it's a big dip and gap down. But we could fill that gap to the upside today. So keep this on watch. I would say 54.90 holds going into the open. You could take a shot at it. I would keep it small. And I would also keep my stop loss average down at 54.40. I would move that up because this is certainly a riskier trade entry. We also have the 333 confluence there at 54.40 on the 15 minutes. So would definitely be, looking at that area to hold a support if I was in long positions. Below that, continuation to the downside starts to look fairly likely. And then last but not least, we had Restoration Hardware. We did this one last Thursday. Why does this look so strange to me? What did we decide to do? Oh, there's my call entry. I don't know why I can't. Why does that not look right? Did I do something wrong with my... I guess it's just because... Yeah, I guess it's just because that selling pressure flag is there. It's kind of hard to see where that long and short tool lines up. So that kind of was throwing me off for a second there. So overall, we got an open above our call entry. What looks like a little bit of a back test there and bounce, but first 15 minutes of the trading day, again, I always recommend caution. Those could easily be moves that get wiped out. So cash session, we did see a potential confirmed break, but a little bit early in the trading day. However, if you did take that, we did get stopped out to the downside. Looked like it was going to try to hold that stop loss average down, but ultimately during the extended hour session between yesterday and this morning, that gave way, and now it looks like downside might be playing out on Restoration Hardware. Certainly looks like it's got a bearish lean, especially below 332.85. In fact, if we get a test of 332.85 today, that looks like a good opportunity to buy some puts and potentially play for downside on RH. So anyway, those are your trade plan reviews. I know we had a bunch of those to go through. I tried to talk as quickly as I could to get to some new trade plans this morning. So let's take a look at our trade plan requests. We've got a couple from our folks watching on the YouTube side of the house. Let's see if we've got some. Nobody really chiming in on the Discord side. That's interesting. That wonder why our live stream event isn't showing as running on the Discord. Oh well, we'll figure that out later. All right, so let's get to AZZ and PLTR. Actually, interestingly enough, I just did, we talked about PLTR during a mentoring session last night that I did with one of our members. But let's take a look at AZZ. This is one that I'm not very familiar with. AZZ Inc. What does AZZ Inc. do? Hot dip galvanizing and coil coating solutions. That sounds like pretty exciting stuff. Let's check the volume on it. Ooh, really, really low volume on this one. So be very, very careful trading AZZ and earnings coming up tomorrow. So lots of things to kind of be aware of here on this one, but unknown reviews always here, always showing up, always with a ticker request. So I do not want to just let him down. If you've got another one you want to ask for unknown, that's cool. That volume is so low that worries me from a number of angles, I guess. Yeah, I mean, 100 some thousand shares traded on average over 30 days. I mean, generally I'm looking at minimum in the millions, but at the very least high hundreds of thousands. Okay, we'll take a look at PLTR. If you have another one, let me know. Yeah, take your time, no rush. All right, so let's take a look at Palantir Technologies. Let's see what we can figure out on this one. Really nice bounces out of that buy pressure there on Neptune. Big push to the upside over the last couple of days. It's been a little while, except for the quick, and we didn't really take a thorough. It was sort of at the tail end of our mentoring session last night. So let me get my bearings a little bit. on PLTR, even though I did look at it last night. It was not a very in-depth look. All right. Got minimal. It's probably because there's been minimal price action up here. Okay. So PLTR looking for, potential new all-time highs. All right. Not going to get much from the weekly chart just based on the fact that we have only been up in this range a couple of times and did not spend more than really anything intraday above 39.23 until recently. Do want to see if we get any kind of true candles back in that pump up through this range previously, but I'm starting to think the answer's maybe not. That's my spot. There we go. Yeah, it's, what are we looking for here? January 27th of 21. Let's see if we can even see that on the hourly chart. Okay, we can. There might be a level up in here. Very iffy. And this is interesting that we've never had a candle close above that level. And that is the current all-time high. I don't know if we'll need these or not, but let's just make sure this is where kind of this whole thing bases off of. I think we're going to need, or it won't hurt to go ahead and do some trend-based fib extensions here. It would help if I could see where that actually tops out, though. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Trend-based fib extension. Let's try this a third time. Be in the charm. There. Where's our confluence at? That's a little bit interesting. Let's see how that stacks up. If not, yeah, it actually probably sets up a little bit better like this, I think. Got the confluences right about where I would expect them to see, or expect to see them, sorry. Make some slight adjustments to these levels to match up a little bit more closely. Again, this could be down just a nudge right there. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Get this down just a bit. Okay. Sorry, had to get my bearings there. Don't know if we'll need these upside fib extensions, but we'll find out here in a second. I'll stop at the 100%. Okay, so with that being said, how does this stack up for a Palantir trade plan? Also want to check this 40.21 versus 40.93 level. Come on. Give me some price action in this range. Any minute now. There we go. God, yeah, it's really bare minimum, but you see could be something right about here. Again, this is all very iffy. We have minimal price data to work with. So I think what we're looking for, and this is going to be a little bit of a challenge, but I think what we're looking for is a break over 4093 on Palantir. Should give us targets at 43.31, so we are going to need these fib extensions after all. 44.90, and then up to that first fib extension, new all-time high test at 47.23. Stop loss average down. Could be right around this 38.81. I'm seeing some flip of support and resistance there. Yeah, I think that's... So make sure you buy plenty of time on your contracts with this, with it being kind of a wide risk zone there. What's up, Kronos? Good morning. Good to see you here. Hope you're doing well. Kronos on the Discord side of things. WFC, Wells Fargo. Okay, yep, we can take a look at that. Unknown reviews. So this upside trade plan stacks up and looks like this for Palantir. Let's see how that does on the... Yeah, it's right at a 1-to-1 risk reward. Again, generally speaking, we want better than 1-to-1 getting to that first price target. So, you know, make sure you start off small and maybe, well, I would start off small and keep this small. There's a lot of challenges in the way here and a lot of uncertainty above 40.93. So, yeah, I would say start small and keep it small on this Palantir trade plan that we're putting together. For the upside, at least. Downside, we're looking for a break below pretty clearly this 37.54 level. And some interesting bounces here just above this 35.79. There could be... Yeah, let's go back a little bit more. Try to make this quick. Just want to see, and again, I know it's probably going to not be much, but every little bit counts. Let's see if we do actually, yeah, there's a level right about here, actually, at 36.15. Yeah. So not quite as low as I thought. I think that's another... Looks approximately to be about a 1-to-1, maybe a little bit better. Risk reward to the downside as well. Looking at sharing the stop loss, 1.2, so a little bit better than the upside. Maybe start with a... Yeah, I'd still keep that small, actually. 1.2 is not lighting the world on fire. Next target to the downside, 35.27, and then below that... I think we take a shot at this next weekly level to the downside, so it could be a bigger move after PT2 to the downside for this downside trade plan. But still, overall, nice setups on both sides. Just, again, I would say keep it small, especially on the upside trade plan. It's got some things risk-reward wise that I would like to be a little bit more favorable. So, that being said, let's kind of run through these plans real quick, and then we'll get to our next trade plan. So here are your PLTR live stream plans. And of course, in the options watch list. So, what are we looking for here on Palantir Technologies? We're looking for a break over 40.93. That should bring targets at 43.31, 44.90, and 47.23, which is a fib extension. So 44.90 current all-time high. We're looking for a break above that to push for 47.23 to set a new all-time high, with the stop loss average down at 38.76. To the downside, we're looking for a break below 37.54 That should give us targets at 36.15, 35.27, and 33.66 with a shared stop loss averaged out with the upside trade plan there at 38.76. Those are your Palantir trade plans. Go get them. All right, what do we got next was Wells Fargo. Definitely one I haven't looked at in a while. Yeah, most of my charting has been at much lower levels. So let's kind of get our bearings on this real quick. Clean up this chart. All right, so the higher time frame to start with. Let's get some more screen real estate here. There's a gap to fill overhead on the weekly. That's interesting. Let's see if that stacks up on the 24-hour though. Yeah, it's not. That was not an earnings report, some other kind of 2018 volatility dip. All right, so let's check through here though, because this is definitely where we're going to find. And for just for a second, turn off my indicators. I want to look at price action only. Helps me focus. So I think we've got a level. I don't know, actually. I think it's actually a little bit lower. More like right there. Yeah, that's where I was looking at initially. I kind of flip-flopped and flipped back to the flop. So, daily level there. This level that we were looking at on the weekly sits a little bit more like right there, and it's a daily level. I believe that'll be our current all-time high. Wells Fargo, so we'll want to pay attention to that. Whoops. Change this line. All right. So where are we at? 57.92 pre-market. So I'm kind of eyeballing that as a potential entry. There's kind of two ways we could look at this one. Sorry, I'm just trying to dial in last couple support and resistance levels here. Let's see how this played out coming back up. So we're below that 58.10 level currently. This weekly level, I think it's actually a little bit lower. Yeah, where you're zoomed out on the weekly chart, sometimes they're a little less accurate, but yeah, that looks better to me. All right, so I think what we could do on Wells Fargo yeah, there's a level. It's probably right in this neck of the woods. So what I'd be looking for, it's going to look tighter than it is. But to break over this 59.24 to go long. First target at 60.58. Come on. Stop loss here at 58.10. And that's an interesting rejection as well. question is that an actual level? There is a level right here that I think gets us out at PT2 before that rejection that we saw just recently. Then I think we could look to try to fill this fair value gap. The only question is now, this is what, January of 2018. I want to take a look at that on the hourly real quick. Well, we can't go back that far on the hourly. Oh, maybe we can. Nope. I think so. Okay, that's all right. Go on a higher time frame. Yeah, it's right here. I think is where we've got an opportunity to stretch and kind of fill this fair value gap back up to 65.17. There's also potential, though, for issues around this 64.10 levels. Let's take a look at, yeah, none of those have been tested lately. So I would say scale out. Let's use 64.10 as a PT3. And if you can establish a free runner or two and want to take a shot at 65.17, you can. But I think holding for much more over 64.10 may be a bit greedy, a bit hoggish. And as we all know, pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered. Greed kills accounts. So be careful. Getting too greedy on the upside here. To the downside, I think we can play below this 57.10 level. I think that actually takes us down to, there is potential for it to bounce a little bit earlier here at 55.30. Yeah, right around there. Potential for a bounce there. There's another support just below there at 54.89, but obviously that's a little bit too tight for us to use it as a second price target. Just make sure that you're moving your stops up as this trade plan works itself out. But below 55.30, I think we take a shot at this 54.34 level. Second price target. Third target, there's definitely something right around here that I don't think we'd want to ignore. So 53.44. All right. So let's take a look at how these, oh, before we do that, let me make sure I don't see anything indicator-wise that changes my thoughts or opinions strongly on any of this. Yeah, not so far. I've seen a couple of things that look like they, if anything, add to the case for having some of these levels where they are. So, yeah, I like it. I think we're good. So let me get this chart finished up, and then let's talk about these Wells Fargo upside and downside trade plans. Let's expand this out a little bit so it's easier to see, or as easy as possible to see. All right. So here are your Wells Fargo live stream plans. So what are we looking for here on Wells Fargo? We are looking for a break above 59.24. That should give us targets at 60.58, 62.25, and then 64.10 58.10 with a stop loss average down at 58.10. To the downside, we're looking for a break below 57.10. That should give us targets at 55.30, 54.34, and 53.44. Try saying all those 10 times fast. With a stop loss average down at 58.10 shared with the upside trade plan. Those are your Wells Fargo trade plans. All right, with that, we are getting within 15 minutes of market open right at it. I don't think I've got enough time to squeeze in another trade plan, so I'm going to steal back 5 extra minutes and put some more time into working on the SPY plan for this morning. So I'll have that posted for you guys in the options watch list, as I do every morning that the market is open. So with that, I want to thank you all for joining me this morning. I really do appreciate it. We will be back Thursday morning at 8:30 a.m. And even though I have not finished populating the YouTube calendar, we will continue to have these live streams every Tuesday and Thursday. I just need to go add some more dates to our YouTube calendar. So don't let that fool you. We will be back Thursday, and we are continuing on next week. So again, I want to thank you all for joining me this morning. I hope you'll come back on Thursday and come back next Tuesday, whether it be on the Xtrades Discord or on our YouTube channel. So with that, I'm going to leave you all with what we always say here on these FOMO live streams. Plan your trades, trade your plans. Go out there, get some green, keep your wins big, keep your losses small. I will see you all in the chats, and I will see you back here next Thursday morning at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Take care. Have a fantastic day. Talk to you all soon.